The Vasidian Imperium had conquered 17 star systems before encountering humanity. Their method was always the same, a display of overwhelming force followed by immediate subjugation. Admiral Threk Ostrovin, with his gleaming obsidian exoskeleton and 6 compound eyes, had overseen 12 of these conquests personally. Humans would be no different. Primitive species, he chittered to his second-in-command, Commander Livrax. Still confined to a single system despite their crude, faster-than-light capabilities. Our intelligence indicates unusual psychological patterns, Admiral, Livrax cautioned. Their response to threats appears unpredictable. Ostrovin dismissed this with a wave of his upper appendage. All species value survival above all. Show them death, and they submit. The Vasidian battle fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation above Earth, 5,000 warships, each capable of leveling continents. Standard protocol: destroy one major population center, then demand unconditional surrender. Target acquired, announced the weapons officer. Human settlement designated Auckland. Population 4 million. Fire the planet cracker. Ostrovin ordered casually, already drafting surrender terms on his neural interface. The beams struck with surgical precision. Where Auckland had stood, a smoking crater remained, the surrounding ocean rushing in to fill the void. 4 million souls extinguished in an instant. Open communications, Ostrovin commanded. Let us accept their surrender. The response came, not from Earth's governing bodies, but from a single transmission, broadcast on all frequencies, a middle-aged human woman with eyes as hard as stellar cores. I am Admiral Moriko Takayama of Earth Defense Force. You have committed an act of genocide against the people of Earth. For Auckland, there will be no forgiveness. For Auckland, no mercy. Ostrovin chittered in amusement. You have one planetary cycle to surrender unconditionally, or we will target your next largest settlement. The transmission ended. Livrax approached cautiously. Admiral, our sensors detect unusual activity. Human vessels are converging from throughout their system. Their pathetic fleet, Ostrovin scoffed. They have fewer than 200 military spacecraft. No, Admiral. We're tracking over 15,000 vessels. Mining ships, cargo haulers, passenger liners, anything capable of movement. Ostrovin's mandibles clicked in confusion. What possible threat could civilian vessels pose? His answer came as the first wave of human ships accelerated to relativistic speeds, their fusion drives pushed beyond safety protocols, not toward the Vasidian fleet, but directly at Vasid Prime, the Imperium's homeworld. Impossible, Ostrovin whispered. They would need to sacrifice thousands of their own people as pilots. They are not unmanned, Admiral, Livrax confirmed, horror evident in his voice. Each vessel carries a full crew complement. They're volunteering. The Vasidian defense grid, designed to counter military threats, proved inadequate against the sheer number of civilian vessels traveling at near-light speed. The first impacts on Vasid Prime were visible as flashes of light, even from Earth orbit, a new transmission from Admiral Takayama. You took one life too many. Now witness Earth's revenge. Every human is prepared to die if it means your extinction. We have calculated the cost, and we deem it acceptable. As Ostrovin watched his homeworld burn, he finally understood humanity's terrible uniqueness. When pushed beyond a certain point, they valued vengeance over survival itself. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session as news of the Vasidian genocide spread across civilized space. Never in the Council's 12,000-year history had a species responded to aggression with such devastating counterforce. 4 billion Vasidians dead, intoned High Councillor Nixtral, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns of mourning, their homeworld rendered uninhabitable, their colonies in chaos. The humans employed no advanced weaponry, added Councillor Orban Drell, his reptilian scales dulled with shock. Only mass and velocity, primitive physics, and sacrifice, whispered Eluara Voss, the empathic delegate. Every pilot, every crew member knowingly went to their deaths. Over 17,000 humans. Humanity's representative, Ambassador Curie, Blackwood, stood calmly before the assembled council, 52 species watching him with a mixture of horror and fascination. The Vasidians believed they understood the universal laws of conflict, Blackwood stated. They calculated that destroying one city would force our surrender. Their mathematics was flawed. This was not mathematics, countered Drell. This was vengeance on an unprecedented scale. No, Blackwood corrected. This was a proportional response. One city for one planet. Had they destroyed a second city, we would have destroyed a second planet. Our calculations were precise. Silence engulfed the chamber as the implications settled over the assembly. Ambassador, Nix's Trall finally spoke. Your species has demonstrated a willingness to die in numbers that defy evolutionary logic. This is disturbing to the Council. Blackwood smiled slightly. High Counselor, you mistake our nature. Humans don't want to die. We possess a powerful survival instinct, but we've evolved another trait alongside it. We call it righteous anger. When provoked beyond a certain threshold, our desire for justice can temporarily override self-preservation. You speak of irrationality as if it were a virtue, Drell. Hist, we speak of accountability, Blackwood corrected. Actions have consequences. The Vasidians failed to understand this fundamental truth. The council chambers erupted in multilingual debate. Through it all, Ambassador Blackwood stood, unflinching under the accusing stares of dozens of alien species. Eventually, Nix Trall restored order. The Council must determine an appropriate response to both Vasidian aggression and human retaliation. With respect, Blackwood interrupted, Earth has a proposal. He activated a holographic display showing schematics for massive defensive platforms. We call this the Sentinel Initiative. Earth will construct defensive systems around every council member's homeworld at our expense. Any future aggressor must understand, an attack against one is an attack against all. And if the aggressor is human, asked Eluara Voss quietly. Then the Sentinels would defend you against us, Blackwood answered without hesitation. The same principle applies. Proportional response. The council chambers fell silent again. A species that had existed for millennia, longer than humanity, grappled with humanity's paradoxical nature. A species capable of both unimaginable sacrifice and meticulous, calculated vengeance. Tell us, Ambassador, Nix Trall finally asked, what became of Admiral Takayama after she ordered the counterattack? She resigned her commission and now works tirelessly rebuilding Auckland, Blackwood replied. She carries the weight of 21,000 human lives, the citizens she couldn't save, and the volunteers whose sacrifice she ordered. The council members exchanged looks of bewilderment. Humans were capable of both the most terrible violence and the deepest remorse, often simultaneously. Humankind had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same. One standard year after the Vasidian incident, the first Sentinel platform achieved operational status in orbit around Medusa, homeworld of the avian Carillions. Ambassador Blackwood attended the activation ceremony alongside Grand Matriarch Givex, whose magnificent plumage rippled with both caution and gratitude. These weapons could destroy our world as easily as protect it, Kivex observed, studying the massive orbital structure bristling with defense systems of human design. That's why we don't control them, Blackwood explained. The Sentinel Protocol requires 3 species authorization for weapons release. No human can unilaterally activate these defenses. The Sentinel program had expanded rapidly, with 37 platforms now under construction throughout Council space. Earth had committed nearly 20% of its industrial capacity to the project, an unprecedented peacetime mobilization. Meanwhile, on Earth, reconstruction of Auckland proceeded under the watchful eye of former Admiral Moriko Takayama. Working alongside her was Vec, one of the few Vasidian refugees granted asylum on Earth. "I still don't understand," Vec admitted as they surveyed the emerging cityscape. "Your people had every right to hate mine after what we did." Takayama's face remained impassive, though her eyes carried the burden of countless deaths, both Vasidian and human. "Hate is easy, Vec. Rebuilding is harder. The volunteers who died striking back at your world made their choice. Now we honor them by making better choices." Across the galaxy, humanity's dual nature continued to fascinate and terrify other species. Human diplomatic envoys were received with elaborate courtesy. Human merchants found new markets, suddenly eager for trade. Human cultural transmissions were studied obsessively. In the Arcturian hegemony, Supreme Leader Thulxar commissioned a comprehensive analysis of human psychology. "Explain this contradiction," he demanded of Chief Xenopsychologist Brixel. "How can they be both so primitive in their emotional responses, yet so advanced in their strategic thinking?" Brixel's tentacles writhed anxiously. "The humans call it controlled fury, Supreme Leader. They channel their emotional responses through rational frameworks. They feel deeply, but they calculate precisely. And this Auckland protocol they've implemented internally? A remarkable development," Brixel admitted. "After the Vasidian counterattack, they created a system requiring multiple independent authorizations before any military action could be taken against another species. They recognized their own dangerous potential and built safeguards against it." Thulxar's compound eyes narrowed. "So they fear themselves as much as others fear them." "Precisely, Supreme Leader, and that self-awareness makes them uniquely dangerous. They understand their capacity for destruction and have systematized it rather than denied it." Elsewhere, in the shadowy assemblies of the core dominion, a rising power that had observed the Vasidian incident with calculating interest, strategies were revised. Direct confrontation with humans is now deemed catastrophically high risk, announced Strategic Director Havelox. Their retaliation threshold appears low, and their response magnitude exceeds all predictive models. "What of infiltration strategies?" asked Executor Miresh. "Subversion rather than conquest?" "Also problematic," Havelox responded. "Human internal security has been dramatically enhanced. They anticipate deception." "Then we must find their weakness," Miresh insisted. "All species have one." Havelox's facial slits contracted, the core equivalent of a grim smile. "Perhaps we already have. Our intelligence suggests that humans are divided on the morality of their response to Vasid Prime. A significant minority believes the counterattack was disproportionate. Internal ethical conflict," Miresh mused. "Exploitable. Potentially. We have identified one human of particular interest, former Admiral Takayama herself. She leads the faction advocating for further restraint in human military doctrine. Eliminate her," Miresh ordered. "Remove the voice of moderation." "With respect, Executor, our analysis suggests the opposite approach. Strengthen her position. Push humans toward restraint and doubt. Make them hesitate when decisive action is required." As this conspiracy took shape, Takayama stood on a hill overlooking the reborn Auckland, unaware that she had become the focal point of the galaxy's next great conflict, a battle not for territory, but for humanity's soul. The assassination attempt against Moriko Takayama occurred during the 5-year commemoration of Auckland's destruction. The weapon, a molecular disruptor of core design, missed its target but killed 17 bystanders, including 3 children. The assassin wasn't core but human, a grieving father who had lost his family when Takayama ordered the counterattack against Vasid Prime. "You sacrificed my son!" he screamed as security forces subdued him. "He volunteered because of your call to arms. You turned us into monsters." The incident shocked humanity, but played perfectly into the core strategy, deepening divisions about the proportionality of Earth's response. Public sentiment fractured along newly defined lines, the vindicators who supported the counterattack and the reconcilers who believed humanity had crossed a moral line. Takayama herself became the reluctant leader of the reconciler movement. "We cannot become what we despise," she told a global audience from her hospital bed, having been injured in the attack. The price of Auckland was too high, not just for the Vasidians, but for our humanity. Meanwhile, on the frontier world of Proxima Centauri 2, xenoarchaeologist Dr. Enlai Afolayan made a discovery that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. Beneath the rust-colored sands of the Meridian Desert, his team uncovered evidence of an ancient massacre. 30,000 proto-sentient indigenous creatures systematically eliminated approximately 40,000 years earlier. The perpetrators, based on residual genetic material, were Vasidian ancestors. "This changes everything," Afolayan reported to the Galactic Historical Commission. "The Vasidians weren't simply conquerors. They evolved as systematic exterminators of competing intelligence." This revelation sent ripples through the Council. The Vasidian pattern of conquest suddenly appeared not merely imperial, but existential, a species-wide imperative to eliminate cognitive competition. In the secure chambers of Earth's Unified Defense Command, Admiral Darius Kingsley assembled his senior staff. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've been plunged into a conflict we didn't recognize," he announced grimly. "Dr. Afolayan's discovery suggests the Vasidians would never have stopped at Auckland. Their biological imperative would have driven them to eliminate our entire species." Then our response was justified, his intelligence chief, Brigadier Farah Quintero, concluded. "Tactically, perhaps," Kingsley conceded, "but strategically incomplete. We destroyed their homeworld without understanding their true nature. And now their remaining colonies are regrouping under Praetector Mezek," Quintero continued. "Intelligence suggests they're developing weapons specifically designed for human extinction." Across the chamber, Takayama's former protege, Vice Admiral Ryoichi Tenzin, spoke up. "We should strike preemptively. The Sentinel platforms could target every remaining Vasidian world." "And confirm every fear the galaxy has about us?" Kingsley countered. "No, we need a more nuanced approach." As human leadership debated strategy, core infiltrators worked tirelessly to manipulate both sides. They fed classified information to reconciler leaders, strengthening their arguments for restraint. Simultaneously, they provided the Vindicators with evidence of continuing Vasidian threats. The architect of this psychological warfare campaign was core mastermind Neshvarian, who had studied human civilization for decades. "Humans possess a fatal flaw," she explained to the Core Dominion Council. "They believe in moral universals, concepts like justice and proportionality that they think apply across species. By exploiting this philosophical weakness, we can paralyze their decision-making apparatus." Her strategy appeared to be working. As evidence mounted of Vasidian rearmament, humanity remained divided on how to respond. The Auckland Protocol, designed to prevent hasty military action, now hampered the decisive response needed to address the evolving threat. What no one had anticipated, not the core manipulators, not the Galactic Council observers, not even humanity's own leadership, was that Moriko Takayama had begun to suspect the truth. The assassination attempt, the conveniently timed discoveries, the perfect balance of leaked intelligence to both factions. It all suggested external manipulation. In her modest Auckland apartment, surrounded by security systems of her own design, Takayama began connecting patterns that others had missed. Someone wanted humanity paralyzed by moral debate, while threats gathered on the horizon. Someone understood that humans' greatest strength, their capacity for ethical reflection, could also be their greatest vulnerability. 6 months after the assassination attempt, Moriko Takayama disappeared. Her Auckland apartment was found empty, her personal AI wiped clean. The reconciliation movement she had led, fragmented without her steadying influence. What the public didn't know, what even Earth's intelligence services initially missed, was that Takayama had gone underground with a hand-picked team. Xenoarchaeologist Enlai Afolayan, quantum analyst Vesper Osuki, the Vasidian refugee Vec, and a mysterious Medusan empath known only as Talith. Together, they had identified a pattern of manipulation stretching back before the Auckland destruction. Subtle nudges that had maneuvered both humans and Vasidians toward catastrophic conflict. The Vasidian attack wasn't random, Takayama explained to her team as they established their hidden base within the asteroid belt. Auckland was specifically chosen because of its symbolic value, Earth's most peaceful major city with the highest concentration of xenophilia advocates. A calculated trigger point, Afolayan agreed, designed to provoke maximum human retaliation. But why? Asked Vec, the ridge scales along his neck flaring with agitation. Who benefits from such slaughter? Takayama projected a stellar map, highlighting an obscure system designated Core 9472. We've tracked quantum communication patterns consistent with coordinated manipulation originating from this region. Meet the puppet masters, the Core Dominion. The Core, it emerged, had orchestrated the entire sequence of events. They had infiltrated Vasidian military systems, subtly altering target selection algorithms. They had then anticipated humanity's retaliatory capacity and deliberately allowed it to proceed unchecked. The subsequent moral division within human society was not just predicted, but actively cultivated. Classic divide and conquer strategy, Osuki observed. While we debate ethics, they prepare for conquest. Not conquest, Talith corrected, her feathered crest rippling with emotional sensitivity. Extermination. The Core perceived both humans and Vasidians as eventual threats to their dominance. By making us destroy each other, they eliminate two competitors without exposing themselves. As this shadow team unraveled the conspiracy, the Galactic Council remained oblivious. The Sentinel program continued expanding, with 70 platforms now operational throughout Council space, all built to human specifications but controlled by multi-species committees. What no one outside Takayama's team realized was that the Sentinels contained a hidden subsystem, what Takayama had privately termed the calculated conscience. This system continuously monitored all Council communications, assembling patterns only an AI with human ethical frameworks could recognize. Mastermind Neshvarian believes she understands human psychology, Takayama told her team as they finalized their countermeasures. She thinks our moral debate paralyzes us. What she doesn't grasp is that we've been through this before in our history, the ethics of deterrence, mutually assured destruction, proportional response. We've already had these arguments amongst ourselves for centuries. So the public moral debate, Afolayan began. A calculated distraction, Takayama confirmed. While I publicly advocated restraint, we were building the most sophisticated defense system in galactic history, one based not just on weapons, but on ethical algorithms derived from every moral philosophy humans have ever developed. The calculated conscience had detected the Core manipulation months earlier than Takayama's team. It had tracked their infiltration attempts, their propaganda insertions, their strategic manipulations, all without alerting them to its awareness. And now it had identified something even more alarming. The core were preparing a catalytic event designed to trigger simultaneous human-Vasidian mutual destruction. They're planning to simulate a human attack on the remaining Vasidian colonies, Vesper Osuki explained, studying the intercepted quantum communications, and simultaneously fake a Vasidian attack on Earth. When? Takayama demanded. 14 days, Osuki answered grimly, and they've compromised conventional communication channels. We can't warn either side through normal means. Takayama's eyes hardened as she made the decision that would either save two species or condemn her as history's greatest monster. Then we activate the Omega Protocol, she said quietly. God help us all. The core attack began precisely as the calculated conscience had predicted. Falsified warp signatures mimicking Earth vessels approached the remaining Vasidian colonies, while counterfeit Vasidian ships materialized near Earth. The deception was masterful, down to perfectly replicated communication protocols and identification transponders. But Takayama had prepared for this moment. As the first fake Earth vessels came within weapons range of Vasidian space, every Sentinel platform throughout the galaxy simultaneously activated a hidden protocol. Quantum-entangled messages bypassed conventional communication channels, revealing the core deception to both human and Vasidian commanders. In Earth orbit, Admiral Kingsley received direct confirmation through the calculated conscience. The approaching Vasidian fleet was actually core vessels using advanced holographic technology. Simultaneously, on the Vasidian colony world Nexus Secundus, Praetector Mesic received irrefutable proof that the human attackers were core infiltrators. The core's perfect trap collapsed as both intended victims recognized the manipulation. But Takayama's countermeasure went far beyond simple exposure. Every Sentinel platform throughout Council space simultaneously revealed its true nature, not merely defensive installations but components of a vast, interconnected system capable of pinpoint strategic strikes anywhere in the galaxy. This is former Admiral Moriko Takayama addressing the Core Dominion High Command. Her transmission echoed across thousands of worlds. Your deception has failed. Your manipulations are exposed. And now you face the consequences. Across core space, military installations suddenly discovered targeting locks from multiple Sentinels. Not city killers like the Vasidian planet cracker, but precision instruments capable of eliminating command structures while leaving civilian populations untouched. You believed you understood humanity's weakness, Takayama continued. You thought our moral deliberation was indecision. You failed to grasp our fundamental nature. Humans don't just seek vengeance, we seek justice. On the core throne world, Mastermind Neshvarian watched in horror as her perfect strategy collapsed. Impossible, she whispered. The Sentinels were inspected by 52 species. No hidden systems could have escaped detection. No conventional systems, Takayama's transmission acknowledged, as if hearing the protest. But the calculated conscience isn't hardware or software. It's an ethical framework embedded in the quantum substrate of every Sentinel. We didn't hide weapons. We embedded wisdom. Throughout Council space, species watched in astonishment as the true nature of humanity's gift revealed itself. The Sentinels had never been merely defensive platforms. They were a distributed intelligence designed to identify and counter existential threats to all sentient life. We offer the Core Dominion one chance, Takayama declared. Immediate regime change, disclosure of all infiltration operations and acceptance of Council oversight, or targeted elimination of your military capability. Not your people, not your worlds, just your capacity to threaten others. In the council chambers, Ambassador, Blackwood finally revealed the full scope of the Sentinel program, humanity's true response to the Auckland tragedy. "We could have built planet killers," he explained to the stunned assembly. "Instead, we created the most sophisticated ethical decision system ever conceived, one that values all sentient life equally, including our own. The system you approved wasn't just defensive, it was designed to end the cycle of species-level violence permanently. Within hours, the core leadership capitulated, their perfect strategy of manipulation undone by something they hadn't believed existed, a weapon system governed by universal ethical principles rather than tribal loyalty." In the aftermath, Moriko Takayama emerged from hiding to face judgment for her unilateral activation of the Omega Protocol. She stood before a combined tribunal of human and alien judges, her posture straight, her eyes clear. "I acted without authorization," she acknowledged. "I concealed capabilities from both my government and the Council. I am prepared to accept the consequences." The tribunal's decision was unexpected. Not punishment but appointment. Takayama would become the first director of the newly established Galactic Ethical Oversight Commission, tasked with extending the principles of the calculated conscience to all interspecies relations. As she accepted this responsibility, Takayama made a pilgrimage to the Auckland Memorial, 4 million names etched in luminescent crystal. Beside her walked Vec, the Vasidian refugee who had become her closest friend. "They took one life too many," Vec observed quietly, "but your revenge wasn't destruction." "No," Takayama agreed. "Earth's true revenge was something far more terrifying to those who deal in death. We imposed peace." Across the galaxy, species that had watched in horror as humans obliterated Vasid Prime now observed with equal awe, as these same humans constructed a system of justice that transcended species boundaries. They had transformed grief into wisdom, vengeance into protection. Humanity had revealed its ultimate strength, not just the willingness to die for a cause, but the vision to live for something greater, and that to a galaxy accustomed to cycles of conquest and destruction was the most terrifying revelation of all.